Welcome once again to the So Weird podcast. This is episode 9. I'm Zach.
I'm Kathy.
And I'm Emily.
And today we are discussing season 1, episode 9 of So Weird, which is Rebecca, which from my understanding is something of a favorite around here.
I want to just say it's a fan favorite and almost everyone's favorite.
Based on the survey I did, over half the respondents listed it as one of their top 5 episodes. So, and it was the only episode that, that was the case for. So, it's a popular one.
Yeah, this one ranks way highly for me. I would say it's probably the best So Weird episode. I mean, opinions vary, but I think this is one of the best working episodes.
Mm-hmm. It's my personal favorite, and I also think it's the best.
So why does this one resonate with everybody so much?
Well, just the general feeling. I guess that a lot of people relate to Molly in losing that friend in life, whether it be a friend or whether it be like a sibling or something like that. I think that's just something that a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, I think everybody has had a loss like that in their lives, and I mean, I know I certainly have. So I think for that reason, this one really speaks to a lot of people. And I mean, there are several episodes of So Weird that you could really call tearjerkers, but I think this one maybe jerks the most tears out of all of them.
Yes, I would agree. This is the first episode of television that broke my heart, which I don't like to use that phrase, but here it definitely applies. There were a couple other episodes of television when I was younger that made me feel similarly from other television shows. So there was an episode of Rugrats with Mother. It was called Mother's Day, and it was about Chucky's mom. Do you remember that episode?
Oh, well, I remember that Chucky's mom was deceased, so...
Yeah. Well, there was an episode about that, and actually it was written by a team that included John Cooksey and Allie Marie Matheson, who were writers on this show.
Wow.
Yeah. Connection
there.
And then there was another episode that I felt similarly about. It was the Hey Arnold Christmas episode. Where Arnold's neighbor is reunited with his daughter. But the difference between Rebecca and those two episodes is that those episodes ended on a somewhat optimistic note. And this one, there's no optimism at the end of this one.
Yeah, it ends on a much more melancholic note.
Mm-hmm. And that was something I hadn't experienced from television when I was younger.
Well, I'm sure there are some television episodes that made me cry before. As a kid, I know there are. There are lots of movies, I can tell you that. But but this one, this is one of the rare Molly-centric episodes. In fact, I think this is probably the first Molly-centric episode, and there are only 1 or 2 others over the course of the series that really classify.
And I believe it's the first time where they actually play a song fully through the episode. Because before we've heard just snippets of songs that she's recording. But in this one, we hear the full song that is Rebecca. And in other episodes, we'll hear her other songs like She Sells and all that.
Yeah, there would be more singing from this point on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess we should probably talk about what this episode's actually about, shouldn't we? We should always do that first.
We get ahead of ourselves sometimes.
We do. So... This one has the where are they? They're in Milwaukee, right?
Milwaukee. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's the supernatural theme, guys?
Oh, immortality.
Immortality. Yeah, exactly.
Sort of.
We just sort of.
The Phillips tour bus pulls into Milwaukee, and a strange girl comes to a sound test for Molly's band, who has an eerie resemblance to Molly's childhood best friend Rebecca. And it's quite unnerving for Molly because Rebecca mysteriously disappeared when she was 13, just uprooted herself and moved away without any announcement or subsequent communication. So Fiona, obviously, as she does from time to time, smells a mystery and starts to snoop around and search into things and discovers that this teenage girl who claims to be Rebecca's daughter is actually Rebecca, because Rebecca is part of a race of immortals who age 1 year for every 100 years. So that's, I guess, the gist of the episode. I miss anything important?
I don't think so. Yeah, it's got a very simple plot to it, but it's still just in fans' minds it stands out.
Well, I can tell you this is one I really remembered in the years between the series first airing and revisiting it, especially the song at the end. That really stuck with me. In particular, the line about something about another beginning without any end. That I don't know why that always stuck in my brain over the years.
Yeah, that montage, I guess, is very memorable and one of the highlights of the episode, but there's so many for me.
I think this episode is just really well written. I think the writer is Tom J. Astle for this.
Yeah, that's series creator Tom J. Astle.
Oh, and it is?
Well, IMDb has lists Astle with a creator credit, and then somebody named Selena Williams with a junior story editor credit. They're listed as the writers.
Oh, because I thought Wikipedia listed someone different.
Oh, Wikipedia lists Eric Morris, and I tried looking him up, and I found a writer with the same name on IMDb, but they don't list Rebecca as one of his credits, so I'm not sure if Wiki is right.
Okay, because I looked him up too. I'll just keep looking it up and see what I can find out, because I found him. Oh, yeah, his website, Eric Andrew Morris, and it says he wrote this episode.
Oh.
So, yeah, ericandrewmorris.com, but now he doesn't write for television. He, I think he's a professor or an assistant professor of, it says city and regional planning. So he's doing something totally different now.
Okay, well, once again, IMDb is wrong. Always letting us down.
Well, props to Eric. So
yeah, no, it is a
really
wonderfully
well
written episode. Yeah. And a wonderfully acted episode. I think this is some of Mackenzie Phillips' best acting on the series.
Yeah, not just her. I thought Nadia Nascimento did a fantastic job.
Okay, that's how you pronounce that.
Yeah, I found a video of her.
Nascimento?
Well,
Nadia Nascimento.
Let's just call her Nadia.
Nadia. Yeah, she's a lot of people recognize her from Animorphs.
Oh, she was Cassie on Animorphs?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a show I remember.
Wow, that's amazing. You didn't put that together.
No, well, I haven't looked up the Animorphs TV show, and I remember the book series really well. I never really liked the TV show because it was so cheaply produced. But yeah, look at that. Huh. Indeed, it was her. Wow.
Yeah, but her acting's really great, and for her to go up against Molly and to just do like almost equally as great for being a teenager also, just amazing.
Yeah, there are two monologues in this episode, one from Molly and one from Rebecca, that are just really fantastic moments when Molly and Jack are in the hotel room talking about, they're talking about Rebecca, and that segues into a conversation about loss. And they're both tearing up by the end, and that really tugs on your heartstrings, that moment.
Look, Mom, is this like a big deal?
When I was V's age, I had a really tough time. I used to fight with your grandma and grandpa a lot. Don't tell them I told you that, okay? Then one day, Rebecca showed up. And it was like I finally had someone to talk to. She understood me. She understood everything. You don't get many friends like that in your life, you know?
Yeah.
And then, one day, she was gone. I mean, gone. What is it about me, Jack? Why do I have to lose so many people?
Mom?
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, honey. It's just that sometimes when you lose so much, you just can't stand to lose even one more thing.
Yeah, that moment is my favorite moment of the whole episode because it's just so sad, and gets me teary-eyed because she opens up. I don't know if she hasn't opened up to Jack before, but she does it in a raw way, and Jack is like, he doesn't expect it. Because
And
he just bluntly says, like, what is it about me? Why do I have to lose so many people? And he's just like,
that
you know,
line gets you.
he's just
Gets
like,
you in the
what?
feeling.
I know.
And that's one of the rare moments on the show where we see the emotional side of Jack as well.
Yeah, usually he kind of keeps a distance with his humor and such, but yeah, that is one of the earliest moments we see of him really opening up emotionally.
Yeah. And then there's this one little, he responds to Molly, and she says, you don't get many friends like that in your life, you know? And then they show Jack, and he kind of looks away and says, yeah, in like a sad kind of way. And I always notice that because I'm wondering, like, does he say it in a sad way because he lives on the road, so he can't really make permanent friends like that? Besides Clue, but that's what I assume. That went into that little line.
Man, I never thought of it that way, but
Yeah, that's some nice insight.
You're probably right.
Yeah, I mean, because if you see that scene again, like he looks away and he says, "Yeah," in a really sad way. But yeah.
Yeah, and just some great acting from Mackenzie Phillips in that moment. You really see her ability. And then the second monologue I was referring to is at the end when Rebecca opens up to Fiona and tells her secret, which then leads into a moment that I really remember where she talks about the I can't speak. I'm sorry. A trustin' girl she knew, and how even that girl's language is dead. That's a nice line.
That really stuck out to me as a kid. It's like, oh man, she really is old.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she says she's 1,300 years old and 1,370 some years old, and yeah, so good moments, and the episode has a lot of moments like that, and I like how the mystery in this one evolves because you get to see Fiona and Molly doing a little sleuthing together, which up to this point you didn't see a lot of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, in the beginning when Rebecca shows up, like Molly just instantly recognizes her, but you know she won't believe that that's her, so she just follows Fee along with Fee's adventure and trying to find out where they live.
And I wonder if Rebecca or if Molly had reacted a little differently when she realized. Well, do you remember when Rebecca says Molly, and then Molly looks at her all weird, like Rebecca?
Yeah, she actually.
Yeah.
I wonder if
she mouths the word Rebecca to herself and then catches herself.
But I wonder if Molly had reacted a little differently then, if maybe Rebecca would have actually said something. But she did seem, no, that's not possible, you know? And so I think that kept Rebecca from, she backed off a little bit after that, unfortunately.
Well, once again, Molly has to play the skeptic to a degree. She is always reticent to acknowledge the supernatural events that happen around her. But, it's not just Molly and Fiona you see going out and having some adventures together. There are some good moments with Jack and Clue, and then with just Clue.
Yeah, in the beginning, Jack and Clue, or Jack is practicing for his driving test. So it starts off this little story of Jack eventually taking his driving test. We see in Siren. Right? No, not Siren. Drive.
Yeah,
Drive.
it takes him a while to get back to that, but yeah, that is the first time that's referenced.
Mm-hmm. And I like Clue tagging along with Fee, and when Rebecca answers the door and doesn't want Clue to get in, he's just understanding, like, yeah, I'll be there. I'll be outside waiting for you.
Yeah, Clue is always there to provide the comic relief.
And did you talk about the part where Jack slams his foot on the fake brakes? Did you see that?
Yeah, that's a cute moment.
And Clue shouts out, "Dude!" as if like Jack really did slam the brakes.
Yeah.
Well, he even lurches forward.
They're goofballs.
Yeah, and there's a scene where Fiona and Jack are investigating stuff at the museum where Rebecca works as an intern, though it's a otherwise decent scene, but I have one qualm with it. The voice of the curator he puts on this really cheesy kind of fake quasi-British intellectual voice. Yeah, we get it. The guy's smart. He knows things. But that's just a little thing that sticks out to me.
No, I totally agree with you. He kind of feels like he's channeling Giles from Buffy or something.
Yeah.
It's not really working for him.
No. But this episode, it doesn't, it takes a while to lay down the cards about Rebecca's particular condition, because it leaves these hints about, she works at the museum and the curator says something. She restores these items as if she was there when they were new. And in fact, the opening scene of the episode is you hear her off screen arguing with her parents, which has got to be weird. I mean, I know, when you live for thousands of years and you're still physically 13 years old, that must be odd. Yeah,
I know. In our live stream, whenever we watch it, we always talk about how the aging is just, it seems like it's too slow. Because we think about times when they're like babies, take 100 years for them to turn 2.
Yeah, that would be odd, just as an infant for 100 years. I mean, how does that affect their mental development? I don't think they thought that through too hot.
And how long would she be pregnant for?
Yeah, that's a good point. If it's even possible for, I mean, I know, comparing and contrasting Immortals, I know in the Highlander universe, Immortals can't get pregnant, so I don't know. But
well, Rebecca came from 2 Immortals, so
yeah, okay.
Somehow,
I guess that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they age normally up until they hit puberty, and then the slowing starts.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't delve into that.
That's too convenient. That's like Twilight convenient. Sorry, Twilight fans. Okay. Sorry.
Oh, we don't want them listening to our show. But, you just have to roll with it. You can't. You're not meant to overthink it too much.
Yeah.
But that's what this show is for.
I liked how... Fee calls Grandma Kathleen, and she's telling her how to use the scanner.
Yeah, that's a cute
really
moment.
Cool thing.
You press the print button. And what I like about this one is how you can really tell that Molly is hurting a little bit. And there are several moments throughout the episode where she comes close to losing her cool with Fiona.
Yeah, you can really tell that this is just really important to her. I was going to say, especially that scene towards the end where Fee already knows the secret, but she's keeping that promise to not tell Molly, and Molly's just getting so agitated.
Yeah, good moments.
I love that moment too. I think some fans, they wonder why Fee keeps that secret from Molly, but it wasn't really hers to give up. I mean, Rebecca, her life's at stake. Her family's lives are at stake. And I just love, Fee looks so heartbroken, while Molly is ranting at her, like, tell me what's going on. But she can't do it. And she won't ever do it.
Well, and it speaks to this, throughout the whole series, Fiona is very enthusiastic about her interest in the paranormal, and usually Molly takes it in stride. But I like moments like this, and it happens a couple other times over the course of the series where Molly just kind of runs out of patience for her daughter's enthusiasm, which is realistic. I mean, again, that's a good example of how well written Molly is, how she's not the typical shallow kids TV parent. She has more layers than that.
We've just kind of gone all over the place with our conversation. I'm trying to figure out what we haven't talked about.
What do we think of, I guess we already talked about Nadia Nascimento. Is that how we decided that was pronounced? Because in my review here, I say that her emotional center seems a little shallow. And I guess what I meant by that is it's just odd that after being alive for 1,300 years, she still has this very adolescent push and pull with her parent, which again, raises the question, she's 1,300 years old, but is she still like emotionally 13 years old? It's, again, the whole, how the aging works. It's just it raises some questions that you probably aren't meant to think about in the moment.
Yeah. And I think just because this is a TV show for kids, they don't want her to act so like sophisticated or anything.
Well, I suppose that's true.
But when she talks, she doesn't sound like she's 13 to me. And well, part of that is because she wasn't 13 when she filmed this. She was 20, but she doesn't sound like she's 20 either. I think she kind of slows down her rate of speech, and her pitch is a little lower. Sorry, that's the speech therapist in me coming out. But I know what you mean about the relationship with her parents has always felt a little odd to me, but they don't really get into it enough for it to kind of bring the episode down for me.
Yeah. Her parents seem really scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're really tyrannical. They seem to have complete control over their daughter's life, which is not nice.
No. And you wonder, like, why do they keep going? I mean, I wouldn't have wondered that as a kid, I guess. But now it's like, if you aren't going to enjoy yourself, why are you still existing?
Well, and like, what's their objective? They travel from town to town. They'll move into a place and then pull up roots a few weeks later and go somewhere else. I guess because their secrets are on the verge of being discovered. But like, what are they doing in life? Well,
they can't die, so they just have to keep going, even if, I don't know, they don't have anything to live for.
Well, can they die?
Well, they seem to suggest, I mean, she doesn't say that they're straight up immortal, that they live forever, just that they live for a really long time. So let's elaborate here. The average human life is something like 65, I think. So if they live 100 years for every normal year, that means they probably have a lifespan of about 6,500 years. So.
But I mean, they could die much earlier than that if they got like hit by a car, right?
One assumes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that because she does say it at the line where let's get burned to the stake.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, it's just something they probably could have delved into a little more. But, they only got 20 minutes of television to tell a story. So,
Yeah, and again, I think it was a good move on their part not to do that, because I think even more holes would have probably, developed in the story if they had gone into it more.
Yeah, and the episode's not about Rebecca's condition. It's about the emotion between Rebecca and Molly. So
Exactly.
And it all, this has one of my favorite endings in all of So Weird. There's no big action-packed conclusion. The climax of the episode is Molly singing the song, which we hear clips of throughout the episode, and they talk about it over and over again. In fact, that's a nice bit of exposition there at the beginning. When Rebecca and Molly meet again, though Molly doesn't know that it's her Rebecca, and they're talking, and Fiona is kind of commenting on what's happening and says, "What, you mean that Rebecca, the song Rebecca?"
Mm-hmm.
Which is, some nice exposition there. And then it leads up to that ending where Molly sings the song completely, which is, one of my favorite So Weird songs, because it is just a heart-tugging, number.
It's just such a cool parallel sequence, because they go to Rebecca's house, and then we don't see what happens, and they come back, and then we see what happens when she starts singing, and just paralleling that. Yeah, and it back then to their experience when they go now, and we don't really hear Molly speaking because it's just her singing. Yeah. It's just, I love it. Yeah, it's a well-edited sequence, the way they cut between Molly in an empty house as an adult. Oh, wait, I just hit my computer there. Okay. How they cut in between Molly as in an empty house as an adult, and then as a teenager with the birthday cake that says 13 on it. The birthday cake. It just kills me. Yeah, not only did her childhood best friend abandon her, but she abandoned her on her birthday. Yeah, I mean, that is the most memorable moment from the show for me, from my youth. That's what I remember the most. Well, yes, and it's definitely it's my favorite, I'd say. This whole episode is my favorite. So, but the song is my favorite. But I have a fondness for songs featuring piano, so it was kind of bound to be. But
Also, I don't know if you all have noticed this, but near the end of the song, this electric guitar comes in, and it just gives me chills every time. It's just so beautifully done, and it's right when Rebecca walks back into the auditorium. So it's like her emotions are coming into play, just as Molly's are.
Yeah, that's a good observation.
Mm-hmm.
Because, that's the end of the episode. Rebecca watches from afar as Molly sings the song, and there's no emotional resolution. Molly doesn't just really find out what's happening. There's no kiss make up moment. Well, that would be inappropriate anyway, but and it's just, it ends the episode in this very melancholic place, which is unusual for a children's television series, though not really unusual for So Weird, because they went there a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as a kid watching it, and when you see Rebecca come back, you're like, oh, just go up to her and tell her that. And then she leaves, and that just makes it, like, as a kid, I think it makes it way more impactful to experience that, how it could have been a happy ending. But
yeah, and there had been good episodes before this one, and the show was good up to this point, but I think this is the episode, this is how it was for me, and I think it was this way for a lot of people, where they really sat up and took notice and said, okay, this show is special. This is a little more sophisticated than other things.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I'm glad that Disney didn't get their hands on this one and really change it around very much, because they could have said, oh, you know what? This ending's too sad. You need to have them, meet up or something.
Yeah, the ending's too sad, and they talk about death too much in this episode.
Mm-hmm. But they let it slide. So,
well, and thank goodness for that. And another thing I noticed just rewatching this one tonight is that actress they got to play Molly as a teenager, who Wikipedia or IMDb tells me is named Christina Krapik. Anyway, she looks like exactly the halfway point between Mackenzie Phillips and Cara DeLazia. So that was some good casting there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And something else I mentioned, how they do talk about death in this. In the opening introduction, Fiona talks about how as long as people have lived, people have been trying to conquer death. And there's always this lingering sadness with Molly about Rick. And that's something that they don't directly mention, but it's definitely implied, especially, going back to that line of hers where she says, why do I have to lose so many people?
And that actually reminds me of the scene with Rebecca, going over the newspaper clippings with Fiona. And there's one about Rick's death. Have you all actually paused the episode to read it?
I did that just before. When I was watching it tonight, I paused it, and I couldn't really see a lot of the words, but I need to screen cap that and maybe edit it to read it all.
Okay, because I read through it, and so some of the things it says is, well, first off, the article is about the Phillips-Kane Band disbanding after Rick died, and it says that Rick died in a car accident. The band, PKB, put out 7 albums, including Another World, which went double platinum.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that means that it sold 2 million albums. So he had, and it also said he had millions of fans. Did you all realize that they were that big?
No, I had no idea that. I mean, that's like, I don't even know what acts you could compare that to. I mean, I guess maybe Katy Perry or, somebody of that level, Kanye West, is that level of popularity,
Mm-hmm. And then after he died, she's on this comeback tour and playing all these small venues. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I had, I never took the time to pause that and read that. So, wow, that is some that's some real, I admire your nerd foo there, Emily.
Well, thank you.
No, it's cool because Rebecca's bringing out all the old albums, and we see Another World, and then later on we hear that song.
Yeah, do we have a complete discography for the Kane Phillips Band anywhere?
I think we do, actually, on the forum.
Yeah, we do. I think some of them got deleted, like the pictures of the albums, but I'm not sure if anyone found the pictures again and brought them back. One of the writers, or maybe on the So Weird website, they gave out information about the albums and the pictures of the album covers, which is really cool. And I'm sad again that I wasn't online at that time.
Yeah, okay. I was just curious if that information was out there because okay, so you said they recorded 7 albums together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So I was just curious if we had the names of all of them or anything like that.
I can look it up real quick. There was another one on the so we see Rocker Baby, which is the one with Fee on the cover, and then there's also Half Light, which you just see in the box of Rebecca's old records.
Half-Life.
So those are the ones we see.
Half-Life. That's Half Light. Yeah, that's a Low song by the band Low. Anyway.
Hold on, let me pull it up. There's also Double Edge was one. Unbreakable Heart, and Destiny was one. And on the cover of the Destiny album was apparently going to be a picture of the same 3-headed demon from Twin, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. Foreshadowing there. I suppose Double Edge was a double album?
I don't know. But
and do we know which one of those would have been their last album before Rick passed?
I want to assume Rocker Baby.
Okay, yeah, that would.
Born.
Let's see. I thought it was Another World. Yeah, it was Another World. According to the post from Gabby, Another World came out in 1987, and then Rocker Baby came out in 1986.
Okay.
Oh, so that gives us a birth date for Fiona then, doesn't it?
We do have her birthday. I think it's February 10th, 1985. I asked John Cooksey last year. I really wanted to know. I think that's her birthday.
Well, what I wonder is when somebody like that who worked on the show 10 years ago has a fan ask them that sort of information, do you think that's something that he thought of years and years ago or just makes up on the spot to tell you?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder if he had a daughter born on that day, and so he came up with that, like he used her birthday or something. I don't know.
So that means that here in 2016, Fiona would be 33 years old. Because she's 4 years older than I am.
Actually, it may not have been 1985. I'm going to have to look this up.
Okay. We're wandering off topic here into the minutia of the So Weird universe.
I was just going to say, they make all these cool things that maybe they hope that people will notice, like fans will notice. So we do notice. And we appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, we notice these things now, but you got to think this was back in 1999 when this episode aired. There was no television shows didn't get released on DVD back then. Sometimes they would get released on VHS. But so they probably didn't put that in there with the thought that somebody would freeze frame that and read it in detail later. So it's just it's nice that they put that detail in there, even though it's on screen for a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
So should we count it as canon then? Do you think that it was actually written by the writers, or was it just something some intern wrote up to throw in?
If we're talking strict, we're getting real like nerdy here. Anything in the movie or TV show or comic or book or what have you, that's tier 1 canon. Anything like a writer or something, or a writer, an actor, or what have you, says afterwards outside of the show, that's tier 2 canon. So since this is in the show, I would consider that tier 1 canon, which is as canon can be.
Yep.
Okay.
And I would consider like the things that John Cooksey has said in correspondence with people later on, that would be tier 2 canon. What TV troops would refer to as word of God is what they call that.
Okay, I looked up Fee's birthday. It is February 10th, 1985, so she is 31.
31. Okay, my math was off.
But I knew it. I knew it, guys.
That'll be a good age for, like a So Weird reboot type of show, and she's an adult now.
Oh, yeah.
If only.
So Weird, the next generation, because now Fiona would be old enough to have kids of her own, so.
Yeah.
There, everybody get to work on writing that fan fiction. So anyway, this is an episode I really, really like. And I would say that it is, if, I don't know if it's my favorite episode because my opinions change every time I rewatch the series, but this currently is sitting at number 1 as my favorite episode. And I think it's that way for a lot of fans. This is one that resonates with people and lots of people remember. And it's one of the best written episodes, one of the most emotionally powerful episodes of the series.
Yeah, rewatching it, I got teary-eyed. Almost cried.
I cried yesterday, and I just did. But you know what? I've never cried at this episode before, but it's always made me feel the same way. Like at the end of the episode, I always feel this like hole in my chest, like something is missing. So this episode is my favorite, as I've said. For so many reasons. We've talked about them. The acting is fantastic from everyone. The themes are, as we talked about before, they can apply to so many people of, heartbreak and loss of friends and, what happens to us as children and how that can impact us many years later. I think that's very important because a lot of times we trivialize the problems of children, and at the same time, a lot of times children shows trivialize the problems of adults. Mm-hmm. So this episode kind of shows that, whatever your age is, what happens to you matters.
Yeah, and I think that's a good observation. And when you're a teenager, everything is more emotional. So the feelings of loss you feel then definitely hit you now. I mean, I can say, there was a girl I went to high school with that left town suddenly that I definitely remember very well. So to give some personal insight there. And, there's lots of things like that. I think everybody has something like that.
Yeah. You said that the line about, another beginning without any end stood out to you. And
oh, yeah.
That also, I can relate to that as well. When she says, was it really so easy to trade me?
Yeah.
Like the doubt that, your friendship mattered as much to the other person as it mattered to you.
Yeah, exactly. Because you never. Okay, you go. I'm sorry.
Well, for Molly, she was, wrong about that. Obviously, Rebecca cared deeply about her. But, knowing as I do that the friend that I had did not think of me the same way, I can definitely relate to that feeling.
Yeah, me too. I've experienced similar things. And, no matter you as an individual know the truth about what you feel, but you can never really know what other people think about you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, wow. Okay. So, emotion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're going to go there, guys, we should go there. No one else will ever talk about this episode at this length. So let's just lay it all out on the line.
This is the final word on So Weird episode.
No, I don't want to say that either. I hope that this episode, I hope that our podcast inspires other people to discuss the show. I don't want to be the end all be all by any means.
Well, I know. I mean, some people have already been inspired to go back and rewatch the show because of this podcast. So that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody in the So Weird fandom has this kind of, ulterior motive of getting people to remember the show and to watch it more. And ultimately, hopefully with the goal of getting Disney to notice and get the thing an official home video release would be nice at the very least.
Yeah, I think that's like the fandom's goal. But someone needs to just win the lottery and buy the rights. I always say that.
This seriously.
It's one of us wins the lottery. We have to buy the rights.
I don't think it exactly works that way.
Well, it should.
So anyway, for me, I when I was reviewing this episode 2 years ago, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10, which I think was me being, a little too hard-shelled and unwilling to recognize a nice thing. If I was going to rate it now, I would give it a 9 out of a 10.
I think I would give it a 9.5.
Well, guys, I don't do ratings very much, but I give this episode a 10 out of 10.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's because, there may be flaws, as we talked about the guy with the British accent. That's very questionable. But, none of that matters to me when I watch it. It doesn't matter at all. And I don't think about, all the issues with Rebecca's, immortality and, what does that mean? Does that, I don't think about any of that. All it is at the end of the episode is just me and Molly Phillips singing her song, and I am in it. I am so in it.
Yeah, I totally understand. The emotional response completely overrides any other reasoning.
Yeah, that's how it is for me. But it's different for everyone, I guess.
But yeah, so do we have anything else we want to say about Rebecca?
I think you guys said it all with the emotional impact. Basically said what I'm thinking also. But yeah, I've gotten comments before, like on old gift sets on like Tumblr and stuff, how people just write their stories of how they relate to it, or on the forum they write how they lost this person and how much this episode means to them and how they can rewatch it again and it brings back like those sad memories, and probably not a good thing, but being able to relate to that is comforting.
Yeah, and I think people of all ages can appreciate this episode. I was watching it with my sister a couple years ago, and she, whenever I told her that I was watching So Weird and doing so weird things, she kind of rolled her eyes. I finally convinced her to rewatch the show with me, and this episode made her tear up. And then my mom walked into the room. Oh, I loved this episode. And I was like, are you serious? But, I mean, I've heard that from other people as well, that their parents really enjoyed this episode. And I think that this episode illustrates why the show was a family show, because, the adults were treated with as much respect, and their problems were treated with as much respect as the children. So
yeah, that's a good point. And I think, that's interesting that people have said their parents enjoyed this episode. And maybe that's because Molly plays such a larger role in this one than normal.
Mm-hmm.
Although, looking under rocks and trying to find flaws with this, there is one more. What's up with Irene's Boston accent when she's on the phone with Molly in that one scene? Anybody else notice that?
No.
What? No.
She has like this really exaggerated Northeastern accent in that scene.
It's hard to do a sound check with no one making any sounds.
I'm sorry, I got a little tied up here.
Well, what's up?
Actually, we're tracking a mystery.
Really? Me too.
Mine is, how am I going to get you to do the gig with you on the other side of town?
Yeah, that and the brick-sized cell phones is another thing notable about. One of the cultural markers that this show was made in the late 90s.
And the pagers.
Are there any pages in this one?
Yeah.
I guess there are. Okay.
Yeah, Irene pages Molly, and then Molly's like, "Oh, can I borrow a phone?"
Mm-hmm.
And is Ned in this one at all?
No.
Nope.
The actor must have been on vacation that week.
He missed out.
Okay.
Hold on. Are we going to talk about season 3 and how Rebecca was going to be involved with that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now's the time to bring that up. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for reminding me.
You go ahead. Do you know?
Oh well,
it?
I was just going to say that in his notes and interviews and correspondence with fans, John Cooksey talked about how Rebecca was going to come back in the original season 3, and that would have been where we would have learned more about Jack's past life as a knight. And it also maybe would have given us a little more emotional resolution between Molly and Rebecca. And I would have loved to have seen that character back. I mean, I think that's definitely, there's really no other one episode character of So Weird more memorable than Rebecca.
In a way, they bring her back in one line in the episode Avatar. He's going through, I think, Fee's emails. And there's an email from Rebecca, and Molly's there, and she sees that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't appreciate that, because it seems like that's just screwing up any timeline, or I don't know, her having a computer and messaging being like, I don't see that.
Well, if her parents were so resistant to Rebecca making contact with Molly at all, it seems unusual that she would be allowed to have a computer. But, maybe she went and visited an internet cafe. Those existed back then.
I think
The library.
in the season 3 FAQ, it says that in the original episode, chrysalis that was going to air. Molly or Rebecca was going to email Molly. I don't know what about though. I guess about Molly's alcoholism. I don't know.
Yes, the great loss. Very special episode of So Weird.
Yeah. And then as we talked about, she was going to come back at some other point and talk to Jack.
One of the many, we as So Weird fans feel that loss of the season 3 that could have been. So,
Mm-hmm.
So anything else we want to say about Rebecca? The character-worthy episode?
No, I think we said it all.
I wish Kat was here, because if she was, I would ask her, are there any weirdos who ship Molly and Rebecca out there? Because I feel like there would be.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are. I'm pretty sure. I think I remember being in a live stream and people would have shipped them.
Because they do seem very, very close. I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't think it's that way, but,
Well, it is possible that they did have a romantic relationship in their youth. I don't see anything that, in the show that indicates to me that that's not necessarily the case. I think that's a totally fair interpretation.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? It's just, there are certain elements in any fandom who are very willing to make everybody gay.
Well, I mean, if we go that route, like she wrote a song for her and everything.
I mean, it's very clear that they were very close. So I guess that door is open,
Yeah.
But I don't know so much if that was the intention of the writers.
Most likely not.
I mean, I know the show was subversive as far as Disney Channel standards go, but I don't think it was quite that subversive.
No, we hear Rebecca say how when Molly got married, like she wished she could do that to get married.
Mm-hmm. She said she was jealous.
Well, anywho. Okay, anything else we want to add? Any other feedback or anything, Kathy?
Well, we did get comments, but they're not really feedback. They're more like, "Oh, I didn't know this existed. I have to watch all the other episodes."
We encourage that. Go back, rewatch everything, one up all the podcasts, share, tell your friends and family.
We did get comments on our on Facebook on our Angel when I posted the link to the Angel podcast. So Andrea on Facebook said, "These are great episodes. Rebecca especially, since that episode really focuses on Molly just as much as it does Fiona's investigation into Rebecca. Throughout the show, Molly carries a lot of pain, and her childhood friend was one in particular that Molly had to be strong and bear through, even though it hurt her deeply because no one would tell her the truth about Rebecca. Indeed, that episode is very relatable. In fact, that is why I admire the So Weird series so much, and it's why I admire Molly Phillips in particular. She bears through the loss of her friend Rebecca and her husband Rick, and to top it off, she has a rocky relationship with her father. In the meantime, she pulls through and continues her music career while trying to raise 2 kids on her own, doing her best to be their mother by keeping their education and well-being in mind, while trying to squeeze in and I'm proud of you every chance she gets. All of these things are very relatable for these reasons. I truly believe Molly Phillips to be one of Disney Channel's top strong female characters."
And definitely one of, I mean, I've said this before, but she's definitely one of my favorite TV moms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's a good comment. That was nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, whenever Rebecca gets brought up, like people always, they go all out with their comments because they just have a lot to say about this episode.
Well, and a lot of things that Andrea, was it Andrea or Andrea? I'm not sure.
Andrea.
Okay. A lot of the things that she said, that mirrors some of the things we said on this show. So
that's cool. If any other listeners have I don't know, stories they want to talk about how Rebecca impacts them, that'd be cool to read.
Or just how the show in general impacted them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she brought up also, I don't think we really talked about it, but this was the first time that we got hints that Molly had, a bad relationship with her parents in her youth.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's something we'll hear about more down the line.
Okay, so does that start to wrap this one up?
Yep.
All right, well, we want to drop our contact info as we do.
Yeah, usually I post all the links under Tumblr. We have Twitter, Facebook. All those URLs will be down there. And we have a Redbubble store also. Merchandise if you want that.
So those are all ways that listeners can contact us if they feel so inclined to do so.
And the forum. The forum has so much cool information on there, you all.
Yeah, in fact,
Definitely give it a look.
that forum is just a treasure trove of so obscure, so weird lore. All right, well, if we're all done, I guess we should sign off. I'm Zach.
I'm Kathy.
And I'm Emily.
And this has been the So Weird Podcast. Keep the faith.
Bye.
Rebecca moves across the world. She's a Scirocco on the sand. She is the Nile that flows forever, cutting a wound across the land. She'll be your friend before you know her. She'll have your trust before it's earned. But like any nomad, she will wander, breaking the hearts of all concerned. History clouds what we remember, the one that you wanted her to be. Mystery shrouds her like an island. It is an island in a lonely sea. Oh, Rebecca, do-do-do-do. Oh, Rebecca. I was 13 going on 40, wasting my summer on the beach. Burned on the outside and raw in the middle. That Molly's just too hard to reach. Rebecca moved in, yeah, she moved me. She was the best friend I'd ever had. And then one day she went away. Didn't think I'd ever feel that bad. Where did you go? Why did you lie? Why did you leave without saying goodbye? How about the promise that you made me? Was it really so easy to trade me for another town, another friend, another beginning without any end? So many times I would have called you if I'd had your number in my hand. You were the one I would have turned to when things didn't go